Hi everybody, today I'm going to be talking about how to prep your body for conception, for a healthy pregnancy, and to have healthy children as well. So before we get into this video, if you don't already know me, my name is Kaylee. I am a gut health nutrition coach. I help people to overcome their chronic gut issues like chronic constipation, IBS, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, hormonal issues, skin issues, autoimmune issues, anything related to the gut. I help people to get to the root cause of these issues, to nourish their body, and to fully heal their body of these issues, to just be vibrant and healthy and energetic again. So also I want to let you know I do have a few spots available in my program, Ancestral Gut Healing. This program is where I do exactly what I just said. I help people overcome their chronic gut issues using the principles of ancestral nutrition as well as other holistic health principles. So if you're interested in that, be sure to stick around till the end of this video and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But back to the topic for today. Basically, I'm going to be talking about how you can prep your body to have a really healthy conception, pregnancy, and to have healthy children as well. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of things. I'm going to be talking about why it's important. I'm going to give you 7 specific things you can do to prepare your body. And then I also want to let you know that this video is actually for men and women. There's going to be a little bit more information for women, but men, it's actually really important for you to prep for a healthy conception and for healthy children as well. Obviously, the pregnancy side is on the woman, but yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know if you're a man or a woman, this is helpful for both of you. And then also, I wanted to talk about this because even though my niche, what I help people with is gut health, I have a lot of people ask me this specifically and have this goal in mind. When I'm on calls with people and I ask them why they want to get healthier, why they want to improve their health, overcome their conditions, all the time I hear, because I want to have kids in the future, I want to be healthy for having kids, and I want to have healthy kids, and it makes me so happy. It is absolutely my one of my biggest goals as well. So I'm really passionate about this, and I know a lot of other people are as well. I actually just got 2 new clients that have this very specific goal. So yeah, I just hear this all the time. And if you haven't really thought about this before, I do want to talk about why it's important. You might be wondering, why do I need to prep my body? I thought it already kind of knew what to do. So there are a few main reasons. So one, your nutrient levels and actually the toxin levels in your body, your health affects your sperm quality if you're a male and your egg quality if you are a woman. So yeah, that's really important because that's going to be what makes up your baby. So you want really healthy egg and really healthy sperm. The healthier they are, the more fertile you are, the easier it's going to be to conceive, and just the less complications, the less chance of a miscarriage. You'll just have a healthier baby if you're starting with a healthy egg and a healthy sperm. So that's one reason. Also, so this one's specific towards women, your nutrient stores are critical for your baby's health and for your own health. So what I mean by this is when we eat nutrients, we actually store a lot of nutrients in our bodies. And when we are pregnant as women, we give about 10% of our nutrient stores to our baby. So it's really important that we have a lot of nutrient stores. So one is because these nutrients go towards actually building your baby. Like vitamin A, for example, helps to build your baby's heart and your baby's other organs within the first month of being inside of you. So it's really important that you actually have these nutrients before you start trying to conceive. Starting to take nutrient consumption seriously a month or 2 after you've conceived is definitely not ideal, because your baby's already started to develop and it already needs those nutrients. Another note is nutrients are important for every single system and every tissue in our body to work and function. So if we're short on nutrients, then it's going to harm us. So basically, if you don't replenish these nutrients, if you're not eating a lot of nutrients, you can run into issues down the road. So basically, if you're short on nutrients, you can start to get things like osteoporosis, and all sorts of other things. It's just a common example. But all of the things that are less important to your body aren't going to get the nutrients they need. So your heart will still have enough nutrients to pump blood around and make that stuff happen. Your nerves will get their nutrients, but things like your bone or your hair or your nails or your skin can start to suffer. Just kind of the things that won't keep you alive, and they're not quite as important. So basically, what I'm trying to say is you want to build up your nutrient stores first so that you have plenty to keep yourself healthy and also to build a healthy baby, really. So then, let's see. Okay, so then I also want to talk about the gut microbiome plays a huge role here. And you probably have heard of this for women before. You know, in a natural vaginal birth, the baby passes through the woman's vagina, and that is when it gets the vast majority of its first gut microbiome colonization, pretty much. So there's a few different theories about if the baby gets some of the microbes in the womb or not. I'm not going to go into that. Basically, it gets a ton when it passes through the woman's vagina. So this is really, really important because that first colonization will massively affect your baby's health. So the microbiome is going to play a huge role in immunity, down the road hormone health, and brain health and gut health and so many different things, but it's going to be really protective for your baby for immunity, especially while your baby is still developing its immune system. And also just a healthy microbiome protects against so many issues. So women, it's really important to get your microbiome really healthy before you try to conceive. And your microbiomes are all kind of connected. So your gut microbiome is connected to your microbiome down there, and your skin microbiome, and all your other microbiomes. You have them all over your body. You have eye microbiomes. Like, it's crazy. But basically, this is really important for your baby. And men, the way that this affects you is because basically when you and your wife or your woman, whatever, are having sex and the sperm goes in, it is colonizing and affecting the woman's microbiome. So by default, you're affecting the baby's microbiome. So yeah, this is really important for both people. And I will talk more about what you can do to improve your microbiome later. But I just wanted to touch on why it's important. So then toxin load is another thing. So you probably know already we're exposed to a lot of toxins nowadays, a lot of environmental toxins, and it's very common for people to store toxins. If you have a lot of stored toxins, it affects your egg health or your sperm health. And then if you're the woman, your toxin load can actually affect your baby. So if you have a lot of toxins stored, you can actually pass them on to your baby while you're pregnant. So the less toxins you got stored beforehand, just the better. Also, let's see. So then it also affects your pregnancy, how smoothly that goes for you. If you are healthier, if you take the time to really prepare your body before you get pregnant, you will have an easier pregnancy. You are less likely just to get uncomfortable symptoms. I'm not saying you won't get any, everyone's different, but you can actually have a lot smoother pregnancy with less symptoms if you just really get healthy first. So then another thing I wanted to note is what I'm talking about in this video and these tips I'm going to give you are not new at all. These are things that our ancestors have been doing for thousands of years. People have had specific dietary recommendations trying to conceive, preconception, for a very long time. So I love to talk about Weston A. Price, but he's just amazing and like the best man that ever happened to nutrition. But basically, if you don't know who Weston A. Price is, he was a dentist who in the early 1900s traveled around the world. He looked at all of these different populations that were still living very ancestrally, very primitive. He called them the isolated populations. They didn't have any modern influences on them. And then he would look at a neighboring population that had modern influence, that was now getting refined flour and sugar and vegetable oils and things like that into their diet and weren't eating their traditional nutrient-dense ancestral diets pretty much. So he looked at the difference. And one thing he noticed in these very traditional isolated populations is that I think all of them, if not all of them, very close to all of them, had very specific preconception traditions. So in the Swiss Alps, for example, they had the couple eat spring butter, so butter in the springtime because the grass was green. So basically it was more nutrient rich when the cows ate that grass, and you got the milk and the butter from it. It's going to be more bright yellow, which is a sign it has more nutrients in it. But basically they would start eating the butter in the spring, and they would eat it for 6 months before trying to conceive. There's a lot of different traditions. Some places their special fertility food was shark liver oil. Some places it was fish eggs, some places egg yolks, butter, raw whole milk, just regular liver. These are kind of the main ones, but I will get into the special fertility foods more later. I just wanted to let you know this is not a new thing. This is something that our ancestors have known for a very long time, that our health, that our nutrient consumption directly affects the health of our child. So nutrients play a role in their development, their physical development. It plays a role in their facial development. This is, if you want to know more about that, look into Weston A. Price, because I don't want to go on a whole tangent in this video. But basically their facial development, their bone development, their intelligence, their health overall, their organ development, their brain development. It just affects so many things. It's so important. But okay, so one more thing before I get into the tips is I wanted to mention that all of these things I'm going to share with you, it's best to start as soon as possible. So pretty much a lot of these are things that just healthy people would do all the time anyway. So if you've been doing most of these, given a few don't make sense. But basically, if you've been eating a nutrient-dense diet like your whole life, like that's ideal. But if you haven't, don't worry. I didn't. I started later. I didn't know better when I was younger. So just as soon as you can start, that is the best. And then also realize if you are really trying to conceive soon, think about, when I'm talking about these things, how long you've been doing them, or if you haven't been, because you really, really want to do these for bare minimum of 6 months, ideally a year or 2 years. You want to, 2 years would be like super safe, great amount of time to be doing all these things. But if you've lived a pretty healthy life and you feel like, okay, I've done a lot of these things, I do most of these things, I want to conceive soon, 6 like solid months of working on these will set you up perfectly. So I just wanted to let you know, just the sooner you start, I've been working on these things for a few years now, and I'm not quite ready to have kids yet. So I just keep working on these things. The longer you do them, the better, the better. So anyway, now I'm going to talk about the 7 tips I have, or I said 7, I have 8. How silly. Okay, I have 8 tips. So the first one is to eat a nutrient-dense diet. This is probably not surprising given what I've already been talking about, but I talk about this all the time, but basically, you know, you want to eat nose to tail. You want to eat the specific super good fertility foods. So these are going to be egg yolks, liver, butter, a good quality on all these, the best quality you can get. Other organ meats, raw milk, raw dairy, bone broth, red meat, seafood. Yeah, those are like the top super great fertility foods that you definitely want to eat a lot of. And then also you want to minimize like grains and sugar, and also cut out seed oils, processed food, and alcohol. So this probably sounds pretty similar to what I normally recommend. So then the second one is to avoid hormone disruptors. So basically these are going to be, they're called xenoestrogens most of the time. Basically it's synthetic estrogens that are in the environment. They affect your hormone balance. If you're exposed to a lot of them, they lead to what's called the estrogen dominance. This is not good in men or women. It decreases fertility. For men, it decreases testosterone. For women, it decreases progesterone and just throws the whole balance off. So it affects fertility negatively. Let's see. So the main things that endocrine disruptors are present in are going to be hormonal birth control, plastic, silicone, soy, receipts, most cleaning products, most beauty products, nonstick cookware, food dyes, things like that. I do want to touch on the hormonal birth control. If you have been on that for a while and you want to conceive soon, it's best to be off that for a little while before conceiving. Again, think about how long you've been on it. If you've been on it like, 5-7 years, then your body might need a year or 2 years to actually get back into the rhythm of things. It also depends on what kind you were on. If you were on it for a year, you might swing back into things sooner. But also note that hormonal birth control does deplete your body of the exact nutrients that you need to be fertile and healthy, and the nutrients your baby really, really needs. So it's ideal to be off hormonal birth control. Well, it's ideal to have never gone on it, but it's not always a perfect world for everybody. So it's ideal to be off of it for a while. Like I said, if you've been on it for a long time, give your body more time. If you have the luxury of some time and you just really want to prepare right, a good year or 2 not on it is awesome. So then also one more thing is you can eat carrots, raw carrots, or cooked mushrooms to help to get rid of those xenoestrogens a little bit quicker. They have a special fiber in them. It binds to xenoestrogens, helps pull it out, goes out in your bowel movements. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. If you do think you have estrogen dominance, it's just a good habit to include those foods, and it's one thing you can do to help. There are others, but it's just kind of a simple one. So then my third one is manage stress. So stress means your body is, if you're stressed all the time, so not like a little bit of stress, but if you're chronically stressed, that means your body is prioritizing making cortisol over your sex hormones. So sex hormones are testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone are just the main ones. So that's not good. It's going to negatively affect your fertility if you're not making the hormones you need. So that's one thing to note. Stress also leads to a lot of wasting of nutrients, and it also signals to your body that things are not safe, that something is going wrong. Chronic stress really is that fight or flight, like extended. It is telling your body that you're not safe and that it's not a good time to bring kids into the world. So if you're chronically stressed, that will negatively affect your fertility in that way as well. So yeah, managing stress, that's super important. I'll probably make another video on it at some time because it's just such an important topic. So my fourth tip is to detox prior to trying to conceive. This will just help you to really flush out any toxins that are stored and just decrease that chance of passing any on to your children. And it also will improve your sperm and egg quality. One very important note, you do not want to do any kind of detoxing while you are pregnant or while you're breastfeeding, because when you're detoxing, you are like resurfacing toxins that have stored and lodged themselves into your body. So you're resurfacing them and then eliminating them. When you're pregnant, you don't want to do this because resurfacing them exposes them to your baby. So make sure you're not doing any of this detoxing stuff when you are actively trying to conceive, or while you are pregnant or breastfeeding. So with that out of the way, it's really helpful to start detoxing first. Let's see. So I'll just give a few examples here. If you want to know more about detoxing, I have a lot more info on my website, on my Instagram. You can let me know in the comments if you want to know more about detoxing, and I'll make a video on it. But basically, a few things are like having daily bowel movements, believe it or not, is huge for keeping toxins out of your body. Supporting your liver health, so not drinking alcohol, having like burdock dandelion tea is good for your liver. Eating liver is good for your liver. Eating fatty foods is actually, well, healthy fat, I should specify. Healthy fat, animal fats is good for your liver because it's going to stimulate the bile flow, so you keep the bile flowing, and it doesn't get clogged or doesn't make stones or things like that. So those are just a few things. Saunas, sweating, dry brushing, Epsom salt baths, things like that are all really helpful for detoxing. Again, if you want to know more, let me know in the comments. So then, let's see. Okay, so number 5 is make sure you're healthy body fat. So body fat percentages are really rough. It's kind of hard to say for sure. I had a nutrition professor say the only way you really know your body fat percentage is if you cut you up into a bunch of pieces and separate the fat and weigh you. So none of the methods are perfect, but just having a general idea of roughly where you're at, around like 19-24% is good for women. Usually around like 7-16% is usually about good for men. But you know, you can look in the mirror, you can know if you're healthy body fat percentage or not. So basically, for women, if you are too low body fat or too high, it decreases your fertility. If you're too low body fat, oftentimes you're not even having a period. So that's a very clear sign that you need to increase it a little bit. I know it can be uncomfortable. I've been in those exact shoes of being too low body fat and not having a period and having to gain weight because that's what I needed to do. And I know it's uncomfortable, but it's usually not that much that you really do have to gain. I gained not much at all and got my period back. But basically, just realize if you're too low, it's going to shut off your ability to reproduce. And if you're too high, that's also going to be negative. And then for men, if you're too high of body fat, that can lead to estrogen dominance, which is going to throw off your hormone balance and decrease your fertility. So both men and women, it's ideal that you are a healthy body fat going into trying to conceive. So then, let's see. Okay, so my sixth tip is pregnancy spacing. So this is a practice that was practiced by our ancestors again for a very, very long time. And different cultures did it a little bit differently. But basically, most of these ancient cultures spaced their children at least 3 years apart. It varies. Some is like 2.5, some's like 4, but basically it usually tends to average out around 3 years apart. So basically this just allows you, as the woman really, to replenish your nutrient stores before you have your next child. So the reasoning for this is what I already talked about. You want your next child to have plenty of nutrients so that he or she can grow very well and be very healthy. And then also you want to replenish those nutrients for yourself so that you can maintain good health throughout pregnancy, postpartum, and into old age. So then, let's see. Yeah, so also with the pregnancy spacing, this is ideal. Obviously, you get to decide whatever you want to do. And if you haven't done that in the past, like, don't feel bad or anything. Just do the best that you can. And I would just personally recommend going forward at least 2 years. 3 is ideal. Figure out what works for you. You can really pound those nutrients in 2 years and then try again if that works for you. You get to decide, but just realize that that's the benefit of waiting longer in between pregnancies. So then my 7th tip is to get your gut healthy. What a surprise. So like I was talking about earlier, both the mother and father's microbiome will affect the child's microbiome. So let's see. So there's a lot you can do to get your gut healthy, but basically just a few tips for your gut health, for your gut microbiome specifically, is avoiding sugar, processed food, alcohol, let's see, antibiotics, antibacterial soaps, hand sanitizers, just any kind of over sanitation thing is not good. And then the sugar and processed foods are feeding pathogenic bacteria. So avoid those kinds of things, and then just include lots of great fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, fermented veggies, kimchi, anything like that is going to be really awesome for your microbiome. So those are a few simple tips. I'm sure I'll talk about that more in the future. So then I also wanted to touch on a few other gut health things. Ideally, you want a very strong digestion, a very well functioning digestive system as well, because if your digestion isn't working well, you're not going to be absorbing all the nutrients from the food you're eating, and you're eating all these special fertility foods that are super, super nutrient dense and helping you build your stores, but it's only going to do that if you're digesting and absorbing the nutrients. So you really want to make sure that you have a good digestive system. Signs that that's off are going to be any kind of digestive issues. If you get bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain, acid reflux, if you have a low appetite, if things just don't quite sit right, that's a big sign that you got to work on your digestive health first. It's going to make a world of difference. I also wanted to mention leaky gut. If you've got leaky gut, this is something that's really ideal to heal first. Signs of leaky gut are like food sensitivities, inflammation in the body. Let's see, we can get toxin overload because, like I've talked about before, if things are seeping through your gut really easily, toxins are one of those things seeping in. You can have autoimmune diseases. If you have an autoimmune disease, then you pretty much just have leaky gut. That's kind of the way it goes. Yeah, so if you have that, it's really great to heal it first. And just another note on that, if you have any kind of chronic, debilitating health conditions, even if you have kind of mild health conditions, it's ideal to overcome these first. Yeah, it's just ideal. Again, these are suggestions based on my research, based on talking to other people. Yeah, you get to decide whatever you want to do, but when we're talking about ideal, it is best to heal these things first. And then my 8th tip, I know I said 7, but I forgot I have 8. So my 8th tip is mostly for women. Men, if you want to learn it, you can, absolutely. But yeah, it's more geared towards women. So my 8th tip is to learn to track your menstrual cycle. So basically, let's see, how do I say this? So there are different phases in your menstrual cycle, if you don't already know. There's the follicular phase, then there's ovulation, and then there's the luteal phase. And, and the beginning part of the follicular phase is when you're menstruating. So in your whole cycle, different things are going on at different times. I won't get into it in this video because I don't want to make it too long. But basically, one of the important things I'm trying to mention here is you can only get pregnant for roughly 6 days. It's different in every woman. It's different in every cycle. But basically, you can get pregnant when you have cervical fluid, like when you're producing a lot of cervical fluid that helps basically move sperm up into your uterus and help everything, happen. But basically, so you need that really fertile quality cervical fluid. And then it also, you produce this, women right around ovulation. So that's what's got to be going on. Basically, without this cervical fluid, the sperm will die off pretty quickly. So yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but basically I just want to emphasize there's only a little fraction of your cycle that you can actually get pregnant during. So by learning this now and getting really comfortable with your cycle, when you are ready to start trying to conceive, you can just make it happen so much faster because you already know your body and you know what's happening and you know when to try. On the flip side, you can also use learning about this to avoid getting pregnant. So that's really helpful too. If you're still in the prepping phase and you're not ready to start trying to conceive yet, you can use this. It's called the fertility awareness method to avoid getting pregnant as well. So I think that's pretty cool. And then there's one more really awesome benefit to tracking your cycle. And what tracking involves is it involves observing your cervical fluid, taking your temperature first thing in the morning. Optionally, you can feel for your cervix position, which is kind of hard, but it's optional. And then you write down like symptoms and other things and when you're on your period. And yeah, there's a lot of details. I'll link my favorite book on it below because I can't get into all that right now. It would be way too long. But what did I want to say? One more benefit is tracking your cycle can clue you in onto some issues you might have that could be interfering with your fertility. So if you're going to do all this prep work first, I'm sure when you're done prepping, you're going to be very anxious to start trying to conceive. So by doing this while you're doing the nutrient and health prep work, you will just speed things along so that when you're ready, you can just boom, go straight for it. So, basically, a few things you want to look for is in the luteal phase. So that's the second half of your cycle. Basically, after you've ovulated, your temperature spikes and you have a higher temperature for the rest of your cycle until you menstruate. You want that to be at least 10 days long, that high temperature window after you've ovulated. If it's 10 days or less, that's a sign that you're very low in progesterone, and it is a sign that you likely that you'll likely just not be able to keep the fetus pretty much. You need progesterone to just keep the lining. Progesterone is keeping that lining there. So if you don't have enough progesterone, it'll shed it when you don't want it to shed it. So that is a very short version of that. But basically, you can check things like that. Is your luteal phase long enough? If it's not, you can start working on balancing your hormones to make sure that you get your progesterone high enough so that you extend it. You can make sure you're actually ovulating. You'll know if you ovulated when you track your cycles because you have that cervical fluid build up to where it gets to this like egg white consistency is what they usually call it. And then you will notice your temperature spike right after that and remain high for the rest of your cycle. There's so many more details on this to really know, but again, I don't have time for all of that right now so that I don't make this ridiculously long. But let's see, did I get all of that? Yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that, except for one last thing. And that is, there's one book that I read. It's like 500 pages and it's amazing. It gives you like all the info you possibly need on tracking your cycle. And that's Taking Charge of Your Fertility by Toni Weschler. I think I pronounced that right. So I'll link that below, or I'll just put the name of it below. But if you are interested in learning more about fertility awareness method, tracking your cycle, I highly, highly recommend that book. It's excellent. It has so much info in it. It's just awesome. So yeah, basically just to recap, I guess, my top 8 tips for preparing for conception, a healthy pregnancy, and healthy children are to eat a nutrient-rich diet, to avoid hormone disruptors, to manage stress, to detox, to make sure you're healthy body fat, to pregnancy space, to get your gut healthy, and to learn to track your cycle. So I hope you found that helpful, whether you're trying to conceive soon or in a long time or whatever. I hope you found it very, very helpful. And yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I actually have a few spaces open in my program, Ancestral Gut Healing, right now. If you are interested in prepping for conception, this is actually something I can absolutely help you with in my program. Like I said, I just had 2 clients sign up with this exact goal in mind. Yeah, so I help you to nourish your body, heal your gut, detox. All of these things I just talked about are things I help you with. So even if you don't have super bad gut issues, but you're wanting help with something like this, this is absolutely something I can help you with. And then on the flip side, if you do have other issues, if you are struggling with gut issues, if you have digestive issues, if you have an autoimmune disease, if you have Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, IBS, hormonal issues, skin issues, anything like this that you want to get to the root cause of, you want to know why the heck this is happening to you, and then have a very clear plan on exactly how to overcome it step by step to get help with the nutrient side of things. How do you get all your nutrients in? How do you balance your diet? How do you put this into practice? Like, what recipes can you use? How do you meal plan? How do you make this happen? How does your digestive system work? How can you help it work better? All of these things I help you with. So if you are interested in overcoming any gut issues, if you're interested in just really prepping your body for a healthy pregnancy, these are things I can help you with. And if you want to learn more about that, I'll put a link below to link a call with me where we could talk more about that and just see if you are a good fit or not, and if it's something that you want to be a part of or not. So yeah, I hope to talk to you on a call. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like it, comment, share it with someone you know who you think might benefit from it. And yeah, if you want to see more things like this, I mostly talk about gut health and ancestral nutrition. Feel free to subscribe. All of those things help me out a lot. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching.